pole position for Kimi Antonelli for Mercedes. Barely 18 years old and already putting the car in front in a sprint, but McLaren was ahead in the free practice and placed both its cars right behind Mercedes. Cadillac schedules an event for tomorrow, and many people are suspicious. Sergio Perez might be involved in this story. Miami Grand Prix renews contract until 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙯 2041. How old will you be? On this date, Friday, we're in free practice sessions, and we already have the grid set for tomorrow's sprint race. So before you start your weekend, sit down so we can talk about everything. Cadillac posted a provocative video on social media, catching everyone's attention for tomorrow. Saturday, May 3rd. The American team is preparing to be the 11th on the Formula One grid, which will then have 22 cars next year. And they are using the first of the 3 stages in the United States this year to make a big announcement, which we still don't know what it is, but it might involve Sergio Perez, as he is in Florida, and his name is considered a favorite for one of the 2 spots. In fact, Autosport, a famous and important publication in Europe, already reports that the negotiation involves a 3-year deal, the classic Formula One 2+1, and that alongside Perez, there would probably be a rookie, preferably an American if available. All of this is speculation because Cadillac itself has not given any hint of what it will announce tomorrow. But by this time of next Saturday afternoon, we will know, and we will discuss it here. The Miami Grand Prix has been confirmed with a contract extension with Formula One until, mind you, 2041. I did the math, in 2041, 16 years from now, I will be 58 years old. You all will be bald. You, not me, from watching my videos here. The race started in Florida in 2022, had a contract until 2031, but there is already a new renewal for another 10 years. This is the first race on the calendar that was organized by Liberty itself and does not have a third-party promoter involved. The Miami Dolphins Stadium, which belongs to the Liberty Media Group, is the center, the core of the circuit, with the paddock structure inside, as well as the media center and the suites. All of this was a pilot for a later and much larger project that would come in Las Vegas, also in the same format. In Las Vegas, Liberty Media bought an entire block and built the paddock structure, which helped greatly simplify obtaining licenses, since most of what is done is within their own area. Last year, it was the first time the track also hosted a sprint race, which will happen again in 2025. Stefano Domenicali described the renewal as a strategic milestone of utmost importance and said, "In just 3 years, the Miami Grand Prix has established itself as one of the most important and spectacular events on our calendar, an extraordinary example of quality and vision that truly represents the spirit and ambition of Formula One in the United States. The extension of this agreement until 2041 is a strategic milestone of enormous importance that strengthens our presence in America and consolidates the increasingly deep bond with our fan base, which is constantly growing and more passionate than ever before." Then blah, 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 other press release texts that are not of interest. But the fact is, the model of races organized by Formula One itself is a form of pressure on Grand Prix promoters around the world who always resist the increases in fees, the so-called promoter's fee, the fee that Formula One charges to race in each of the series. On the track, the FP1 started with a lot of heat and Oscar Piastri in the lead. Leclerc with Ferrari was second. Max Verstappen, the newest dad in Formula One, was third. At 12:30 local time, 1:30 p.m. in our Brasilia time, the track was opened and everyone made the most of their first and only hour of free practice, since in the second part we would have the sprint qualifying, the so-called sprint shootout, meaning very little preparation, time on a track that is not used as a permanent circuit, and that even being a street circuit has a very different use from a racetrack. There was drama at the beginning with Lando Norris calling his chief engineer on the radio and saying, "Listen, you left a bunch of tools inside my cockpit. This is a mess." An incident that will be investigated by the FIA because it is really quite dangerous to send a car onto the track. With tools like that, something like this could fly off. It even reminded me of the story of Robert Kubica, who in 2010 in Bahrain found a cell phone inside the cockpit, and we've already told this story here in Small Great Stories. In the first part of the session with a 1:28.058, it was George Russell who was leading, 3.5 tenths faster than Norris, half a second better than Max Verstappen. This compared to Verstappen's pole position last year for the sprint, a 1:27.641 and a 1:27.241 in the qualifying for the race, shows how the cars are already faster because it was just the free practice Baku and they were 4 tenths off. By tomorrow on Saturday, the evolution will be significant, both in terms of the track, the setup, and the drivers finding the limit. Before starting the part where everyone tests, with an empty tank and soft tires, Norris had a scare with Ocon, who was going slow in turn 17. There was almost a collision, and the incident was also noted by the stewards. And then in the final part, still with Russell in first, there was a flurry of lap times, with everyone improving. A shower of purple sectors indicating the best of the session. Piastri then moved to the top of the table with a 1:27.128, already improving on last year's time to finish comfortably ahead of Leclerc, Verstappen, and the two Williams, Sainz and Albon. Has Sainz finally started the year? The last race was already a good example. And then many people were on more representative laps until Behrman, with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to finish the session, hit the wall, caused a red flag, and no one else could improve. Because in free practice, we know the clock doesn't stop. There wasn't significant damage, but the Haas mechanics had to work hard to get the car ready for the sprint quali. Hadjar was in 6th, Russell in 7th, Tsunoda in 8th. Good session for the Pink Racing Bulls. Then Antonelli with Fernando Alonso closing the top 10, followed by Liam Lawson. Lando Norris was 12th, Lewis Hamilton 13th, another one who couldn't set a fast lap because of Behrman's crash. Nico Hülkenberg in 14th, Gabriel Bortoleto in 15th, the two separated by 2 tenths. Oliver Behrman was 16th, Pierre Gasly 17th, Esteban Ocon 18th, and closing the top 20, Jack Doohan and Lance Stroll. The sprint qualifying started at 5:30 p.m. our time an hour ago over in Florida with scorching sun, 28 degrees ambient temperature, 50 on the asphalt, and the first round had the usual familiar faces at the front in Q1. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, then Hamilton, and Leclerc. In the relegation zone were Doohan, Tsunoda, Bortoleto, Behrman, and Hadjar. But Hadjar would surpass expectations by placing the car among the top 10, even though it wasn't necessary since 15 advance, showing just how far Gabriel Bortoleto can go with this car, which is a good thing to consider. There is room for improvements throughout this year. Eliminated were Stroll, Doohan, Tsunoda, Bortoleto, and Oliver Behrman. Behrman with his Haas still somewhat battered after that crash in FP1. A moderate crash, but it seems it caused some disruption. And at Red Bull, a communication failure left Tsunoda furious. This after a weekend in Jeddah where they gave a masterclass on how to use both cars. Tsunoda provided a beautiful slipstream for Verstappen on the straight, which earned him about 80 thousandths. Tsunoda reached the end of the straight just before the hairpin and saw Verstappen opening up to take a wider line and accelerate. So he waited, thinking Verstappen was going for another attempt, but he went into the pits. With this slowdown, waiting for Verstappen, Tsunoda crossed with the clock at 0, lost the chance to complete a lap, was eliminated in Q1, and already said on the radio, what happened? The engineer said, we'll talk in the garage. Another one who was furious was Doohan, who also felt he was hindered by the team that sent Gasly out in front when he was the one who needed the time. Doohan, who apparently is under pressure, and if the president of YPF Argentina is right, as we mentioned here yesterday, this is his last weekend because the next one is Imola. In the first round of Q2, not everyone attempted, only the top 8 in this case. And the last of the 8 was Hamilton. The others saved the medium tire set. So it was Piastri, Norris, Antonelli, who seemed like he was going to be a challenge, Verstappen, then Russell, Leclerc, Albon, and Hamilton. All the others had no time. But when they set their times, Hamilton fell into the elimination zone, bang! But he was going to attempt a second run, and with the clock at 0, he passed and was 1/10 behind Leclerc. 1/10 is acceptable, I've been saying here. Half a second that he's been taking from Leclerc is not. Antonelli passed and set a better time than Russell, and he's been performing better than Russell this weekend. The ones eliminated were 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧𝙞𝙜𝙤 in 11th. Look at the car's potential there. Then Ocon, Gasly, Lawson, and Sainz, who had a lap deleted after going off in Tennessee, went straight at the hairpin and didn't even need track limits because the lap was already ruined, etc. Q3 started with mandatory soft tires for everyone, and only Russell and Verstappen went out on track. Verstappen went out and did a 1:27.070. Up to that point, the fastest lap of the weekend, but it wouldn't last long because Mercedes, which has a car that is surprising in hot conditions, as it didn't perform well like this until last year, with Russell did a 1:27.6, the best time, and no one else went out on track. Russell returned to the pits. Verstappen stayed out, did 2 cool-down laps, recharging the battery and cooling the car, indicating that he had more fuel than Russell, and then went for an excellent lap when everyone else was attempting theirs. A 1:27.637? It looked like a pole position lap, but then Antonelli pulled a dream lap out of the hat, doing a 1:26.482, the best time by far. Piastri went through and put the car in second, pushing Verstappen to third, and then 9.6 did the same, pushing Max to fourth, followed by Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton. 2/10 behind Leclerc is better than half, but worse than 1. Albon, Hajar, and Alonso surprised with an Aston Martin in the top 10. Tomorrow we have an interesting sprint with Antonelli starting at the front. Let's see how he will perform. There with the adults. A young driver that everyone, especially here in Brazil, was quick to criticize last year, questioning where Mercedes found this kid, etc., is now showing that a good driver has to make a strong first impression. And with 5 or 6 races, securing a pole in the sprint, that's excellent. Of course, he has the car for it, but look at the difference between him and his teammate. That's the comparison. Russell was 5th. A similar good example for Hajar, who also debuted in Australia. Even made a mess in the first race by crashing on the formation lap, is in 9th. Lawson didn't make it. I'm excited to see this sprint tomorrow. If you want, leave your guess in the comments. Tomorrow, the sprint is at 1 in the afternoon, and the qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix is at 5 in the afternoon. And then on Sunday, also at 5. The Miami Grand Prix, which has a parallel broadcast on our project Outro Canal. You know, right? I'm in the comments, Matheus Ornelas is doing the narration, and we provide you with an alternative broadcast on a second screen. You watch there, without sound, and listen to us here. We're there. They're where you always watch on Band or F1 TV. We started last year, and we're also doing it this season to give you another channel to watch. That's why it has this name. But it's here on this channel. Tomorrow after the qualifying, I'll already have the live created with the link in the comments for you to join. We put your comments on the screen, respond to your super chats, listen to the radios, monitor the race direction, and try to provide information in a relaxed manner. Another way to broadcast on the other channel. This week on Tuesday, the continuation of our series Cheats, with number 2, featuring 10 more great cheats in the history of Formula One. It's the continuation of one of the best sellers in the history of this channel, which has already surpassed 350,000 views. It's worth watching because it has some real gems. On Wednesday, a small great story about when Emerson Fittipaldi and Ayrton Senna, 2 distinct generations of Brazilian Formula One champions, shared the track in a preseason test in 1984 at Jacarepaguá. Did they never race together in Formula One? It's a half-truth because after all, there was this test. All right then, leave a like, it's free, it costs nothing, you know, it helps the channel a lot. Do me this favor, do us this favor, and don't forget to leave your hype and your comment with us. It helps a lot in the distribution of the videos because the algorithm understands this as engagement. So, leave an emoji. Leave your guess on who wins the sprint or who gets the pole position, or both. Tell us where you're watching from. Send a kiss to someone. It's up to you. The important thing is to comment. To not miss anything we do here, we have notification channels on Telegram, WhatsApp, and also on Instagram. In addition to our social media, where there's informative and fun content all the time. Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok. Deal? So that's it. It's Friday. You already know our checklist. If you don't, now you do. Thanks. Take care. It's Friday. Have fun. And be sensible.